reclassify Islam as a political ideology and declassify it as a religion. That will immediately change how we approach the Islamic issue that we have in this country, or actually, in fact, any country in the world. Once we treat Islam as a political ideology, we can then make its adherences, especially those who adhere to its more radical aspects, null and void. We can make them powerless. We do that with Nazis every day. There are plenty of neo-Nazis in the world. They just have no power in the world. There are plenty of KKK, members and supporters in the world. They just have no power in the world in which they operate in. I don't care whether someone believes terrible things. You can believe that it is perfectly fine to I don't know, eviscerate a baby at 2 months old, because that's your core belief in life. But as long as you don't have the power to do anything about it, as long as you don't have the power to act upon those beliefs, then your beliefs, you can believe any, you can be a crazy person. We allow that in this country. We allow that in this world. You can sit and be put a tinfoil hat on and just be a crazy person and believe in all sorts of ridiculous shit in this country. That's the freedom. We don't thought police people. So if I want to keep that freedom, then I have to deal with people's actions, not people's thoughts. And it's people's actions that matter. And Islam has proven itself over and over again that it can, influence people to act very, very badly. And we have to control that. And we cannot do it as long as we give Islam the privileged position of religion. We simply cannot. We are tying our own hands when it comes to this ideology. This ideology is not just a religion, it is a political and social ideology. And it has political goals, it has political aspirations, and it has a set of rules, which they call the Sharia, the law, which it wishes to implement upon whichever nation it dominates. It has done that throughout history. Look, go to Egypt and ask an Egyptian what they think about the Coptics. Egypt used to be a Christian majority nation, and many other nations. And Manny, you know very well the troubles of Islam in your part of the world. So we know that this is a political movement as well as a lofty religious angle to it. So yes, people can believe their religious angle, but we won't give them any political or social power. And as long as it's a religion, as long as it's recognized as a religion, it has a social power, it has social credit. And we can't allow Islam to have that anymore. I'm sorry. They lost their religious pass, if you will. They lost their religious privilege. They have to be declassified as a political ideology, and we treat them exactly the way we do the Nazis and the white supremacists and KKK and all the other political ideologies. And we defang them effectively.
Okay, so imagine that you're speaking to the court of law, and the court in session is is seeking for evidence to prove that this religion is not a religion and is in fact a political ideology. So what evidence, or certainly what direction would you take the court and those listening or adhering to your testimony? How would you go about proving this?
How would you go about proving that Islam has a political ideology?
No,
Is a political?
that is not a religion. That is an ideology. How would you
Well,
take the emphasis away from the religion and place it on something else, which is, for example, a political controlling ideology?
well, I mean, all you have to do, again, anyone can make a religion. You can make a religion out of believing in Hitler. You can make a religion out of praying to Pol Pot. I mean, right now in North Korea, they have a religious state. Believe it or not, they still believe that Kim Jong Il's father, the first Kim Jong Il, is still the leader of the country in from death, from the other side. So they believe in their politics is as religious to them as it is to any Christian. So
Oh, I see. So just to clarify, you are saying that because a state and a country can be, how can we say, um, how can organized in accordance to a religion, then that religion no longer continues being a religion, and it becomes a political concept. For example, the Sikhism does not control any country, therefore there's more evidence that it's more of a spiritual religious essence to it rather than a political essence. Is that what you're
Well,
getting at?
yeah, but I mean, yeah. The thing is, any religion can have. Even Christianity has a very influential political angle to its ideology, but it's not. It has been secularism and the Enlightenment has taken away the majority of the power that the church holds, at least
Yeah,
in
but having
Britain.
laws and legislation based on a religious teaching is very different to having laws. How can we say, taken from a religion, right? So Christian countries, for example, have legislation laws based on the teachings of the Bible and the metaphors in the Bible, whereas countries following Sharia law is taking the exact laws from Sharia law, full
Well,
stop, and there's no changes.
yeah, I mean, even secular nations like Europeans and Americans and stuff, American countries, even though they have a Judeo-Christian heritage and they maybe have as inspiration and certain laws based around those religious teachings, their fundamental jurisprudence is separated. I mean, in fact, in American Constitution is stipulated that there is a wall between the church and the state. There is an absolute divide between church and state. They went out of their way to make sure that that's the case. And in Britain, we've applied those things, although we don't have a written constitution. We've applied them in principle that the church doesn't have any sway over the state, at least on in principle. Although sometimes those things can be blurred. But with Islam, it is absolutely clear with Sharia that this is the governing part. This is the portion of Islam which is to do with governance, to do with your banking, to do with your civil law, to do with your criminal law. It has literally step by step guide of what you should do, how you should apply it, what punishments are dished out, what things are constitute as crime and what things are not. It's absolutely a political ideology. You can it is a complete worldview. It isn't just some philosophical religious teachings to make your life a slightly better and have a belief in a higher deity of some sort. It is a how do's and don'ts of running a country. It has a how-to book. It says how to build a country for dummies. So it's literally written in that. So you can't say that the inspirations that for the laws that Britain has taken from Christianity or America has taken from Christianity is in any way equivalent to Sharia. Muslims are not inspired by the Sharia to make certain laws. They are told by the Sharia what laws they should follow. They are told what to do and what punishments are there for these crimes and what things constitute as a crime and what things don't, and how you should judicate and arbitrate these issues. They are told how you should behave in your marriage. They are told how you should run your banking system. They are literally, these things are laid out. It is a complete, uh, well, as Muslims say, it's a complete guide to life, and it is. So you can't say that it's just some philosophical religious ideology. It is a absolute concrete do's and don'ts of building a society and making a country. And if you can't, if the fundamentals of this society are at odds with the society that you want to live in, which is for me a British society, then I cannot. This is as, to me, as direct an attack upon this society by this religion as Nazism would be, as socialism or communism, Stalinism is, or the communists of the Chinese are. If they came here, if a bunch of Chinese or a Stalinist came and said, we want to establish this way of living, this way of governing your country, this system, we would literally go to war with them. We literally did. In a Cold War sense, we would literally fight these people if they came and told us, you have to change the way you run your country, you have to change the way you do your banking, you have to change the way you run your social criminal courts and what do you call, courts of arbitration, and you have to change all of these things to be this way, our way. Well, you would go to war with such a thing. So how is it that we have the same thing, except we've put a label of religion over it, and we can't touch it? We can't touch it. We can't do a thing with it because it's got that diplomatic immunity stamp of religion. But if we take that away, if we revoke that elevated position, then there is a lot we can do with this religion. We can treat.
I'm so glad, Banksy, that we don't hang around on a day-to-day basis, because you'd be absolutely be able to convince me on anything.
No,